How did we look back then? Look at that. Childhood memories. It's so nice to remember them. We have our memories mostly on paper because our parents and grandparents were capturing them with analog cameras. Today's generation will capture them with their phone mostly, and hopefully they have backups so they can have a look at it in 20 to 30 years. But that's not the topic from the day. So I went through my cameras because I have way too much and sorted some out. And then I found a camera of my grandpa. And I know it was my grandpa's camera because he labeled it. And I opened it and I couldn't believe I was holding in my hand. It was a medium format rangefinder camera. The lens was even coupled with the rangefinder, so you really could focus with the rangefinder. And in this video, I will revisit some of my childhood places and will capture them with this medium format camera. But first, I want to show you what I got. So I can't believe I still even have the original box of the camera. It was packaged so well back then. It has this beautiful paper in there. You're gonna see it in a second when I get it out. This is the Agfa Super Isolette, a rangefinder medium format camera. The lens is rangefinder coupled, that means you can focus as you are used to on a Leica. It has a 5-plate synchro contour shutter with 1 to 1/500th of a second. Of course also bulb, but the cool thing is you have flash sync at all speeds. Attached to the bellow of the camera is an f3.5 75mm Agfa Solinar lens that has 10 super nice aperture plates. It uses 32mm push-in filters, and guess what? There was one in the original box and it has its own case. And I'm not finished yet. I also found its original leather case. That's really nice. With a leather strap, it protects the camera beautifully. I am speechless. I'm so lucky. The camera was only produced from about 1954 to 1957. If you have seen my previous video, you know I cleaned the lens with a Q-tip and distilled water, only to get rid of the dust that the rocket blower couldn't take care of. Isn't that a beautiful lens? It's also very sharp, as you can see later on. It's supposed to be a Tessar design copy, so no wonder it's sharp like that. The focusing helicoid moves smoothly away from infinity, but needs a lot of force to get back, so I need to bring the camera to a maintenance service at some time, but first I wanted to shoot some images. This camera is fully mechanical and has a lot of high tech inside. It's really unbelievable how they did it back then. I decided to use HP5, and the cool thing of the camera is that it uses these little gears here to detect the first frame. You don't have like a red window on the back of the camera. Let me show you. First you load the film. It's super easy and very similar to all other medium format cameras. Then you close the back and you start to turn the wheel until you hear this little click. Isn't that really cool? It also has a double exposure prevention, even the shutter is integrated in the lens. I'm ready now to capture the first frame, guys. The first stop was Graz, because my grandparents and we had relatives back then there. After the first frame, I thought this is the end of my journey, because I couldn't advance the film to the next frame. I tried it really hard, but it didn't work at all. So I brought it to Mint and Rare in Vienna, and luckily they could help me with it and I could go on with my journey. The next stop was the property of my grandparents. Here in the backyard, I remember that my grandpa took care about a deer that was wounded, this little thing. I think he had it for a year or something, I'm not sure anymore. And there was this little shed, or there's still this shed, where he took care of an owl. I remember that. And I even found some pictures of that owl. I didn't remember of the fox in our garden though. He must have taken care of it as well. I used my little light meter to measure the shed. Accordingly, I set the shutter speed and the aperture and captured my first image in the garden of my grandparents. And here, as promised, an example how sharp this lens is. Just remember, this camera is about 70 years old. The next place you saw already at the beginning of the video. That's a place where we were sitting all the time when it was warm enough outside. Maybe we had even there our dinner and lunch. Here we are sitting outside. Me, my grandma and a relative from Sweden. And I'm pretty sure if you look at the format, these photos were captured with the same camera. I chose a little bit different view and released the shutter button. Then I was going some steps further and had these two doors in front of me. I remember behind the left one my grandpa was sleeping for a lunch break, so I thought that's a good capture as well. Behind this door is the workshop of my grandpa, and because the walls have so much character, I had to capture this as well. This was where he repaired everything and fed the dogs with a spoon and a fork. In the backyard there is an earth cellar for storing wine bottles and other food. And I found a picture from many years ago when we had a lot of snow. We don't have that anymore. And I thought I have to take a picture of that as well. It's so beautiful today. Because my grandpa was a hunter/ranger, I thought I'd go with you guys into the forest, but I couldn't go any further because of the flood we had. And so I went to another place, and I was so lucky to see some swans there, but they didn't want to come over. So I decided to focus on the water reflection I saw there and captured this beautiful moment. As next stop, I wanted to go with you guys to the Danube, and on my way there I found my shutter release button from my Leica I lost some days ago there. How lucky can you be? I kept going and finally saw some swans on the Danube. We were really often with his boat on the Danube, going to the other side of the river, and seeing now all these young swans there made me really happy. Some years ago I made a video about swans. I'm gonna link it up right in the corner and down below. I was not able to take a picture of them at that point because they were just too close, under 1 meter, so I had to wait a little bit. My waiting was rewarded and they started to leave. And as you can see, in the 1980s, my grandpa also took pictures of the swans with the same camera. And it was even the same place. I recognize it. Isn't that beautiful? This is a picture of me and my grandpa, and I want you to have a look at the radio in the back. This wooden stick was the analog radio remote from my grandpa. He always used it. And look at this funny light in that room. It still looks like back then. That's the reason I wanted to capture another memory of it with the last frame in the camera. So, now I had the right shoes on and went through, but they're still wet a little bit. Super. I wanted to capture some more places, so I took my Leica M2 and captured some parts of the forest and the water where we went together. And now for me came the moment of truth. Did the camera work? Were the exposures accurate? Did the film advance? I was so excited. And you know it already because you saw the pictures. Everything worked out perfectly fine. Since 2 weeks now, I develop all my film all the time at home because I got a new film processor, the AGO film processor. If you're interested in a review about that one, just watch my video from last week. I will link to it up right in the corner and down below. This is such a great tool and saves me so much time. I really love it. I strongly recommend you watch my video. The development of the HP5 and the Fiorina P30 from the Leica worked out wonderfully. I'm so happy with this new machine. So that was another camera story of mine, and at the end I want to share another fun story like I did the last time. My grandpa was a hunter/ranger, and so with my grandparents I was very often in the forest and saw deers, rabbits and other wild animals. It was super exciting for me. I think that's also why I really like to be in nature. And of course, because my grandpa was a hunter, he had guns at home, and I was, of course, never allowed near them. And even until today, I was never interested in guns. But as soon as something is not allowed, 8 or 10-year-olds are always interested in them, right? So I was never allowed to get toy guns as presents. And in Christmas, I think it must be about 1984, 85, something like that. We went to my grandparents' house, the house I took pictures of, you saw before. And under the Christmas trees, there were a lot of packages, and often I was allowed to open packages from others. And there was a package that has the name label on it, Opa, that means grandpa. That's a little bit funny because normally you have the names on that. So I took the package and gave it to my grandpa. And he said, you know, you can open it. And I opened it, and there was, you can imagine, there was a toy gun in there. And he was like, you know, I don't need it right now. I can lend it to you. And my mom was not happy about that. And with that, he didn't break the rules, right? So it was not for me, it was for him, but he lent it to me. And it was really, I think at the end, even my mom had to smile because it was just such a stupid idea. Yeah, I have a picture from back then. I think we found it in the house sometimes back. It wasn't a frame, the frame was broken and the image is broken here as well. But you can see my maybe 8 or 10-year-old self here. You can see the radio back there, where with the stick remote I shot the picture of my grandma, my grandpa, and I get some Lego stuff, some cookies, something to drink, and me, Happy Marcus, with this pistol thingy or revolver, whatever it was. I don't think it even exists anymore. But yeah, this was a fun story to share. And you see, you have paper memories from back then. Even how we were dressed. Oh my God. But yeah. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this story from today. If you want to support me, you just have to like the video. You just subscribe and comment in the comment section, or support me on Patreon. Thanks a lot to all my Patreon supporters already. I appreciate a lot that you support me there. And yeah, as always, I'll be back, guys. How did we look back then? Look at that. What did I wear? I had this funny thingy here, whatever that is. Some kind of rope? I don't know. I like all the images. So let's stop that.